Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the It's Time to Lead Different live stream podcast with your host, Colin Daly from the Circle Leader and the North American lead for Circle Leadership Global. And today I'm flying solo, and my partner, Dave Clare, has another keynote obligation that he's taking care of today. But I am looking forward to uh, hopefully a lively conversation about topics ranging from the new world and the new world order and leadership, and potentially how to inspire and to develop the foundations for growth. Via the use of the right application, I should say, of leadership and leadership principles. So today, I thought we'd get started talking about a couple of big concepts. I actually was just in a conversation earlier today with someone who was describing his world, his industry, as in a radical shift, and his point of view and perspective was that it was never going back to the way it was, and we're finding that a lot and actually in virtually every industry and every business and with every single one of our clients at some level and position within their business. They're discovering that there is no sort of going back to the normal, and there's really not even an idea of going back to a new normal. Really these days, it's about uh, you know figuring out how to exist and to thrive within the constant state of disruption, which we're calling just the next normal, and that's one key challenge and opportunity for leaders and leadership and business owners, to be thinking about how to reframe your core value proposition, reframe your leadership style, reframe the organizational structure, the service delivery structure, the way that your teams communicate with each other, the way that your team actually is organized and aligned, um, to really be agile and flexible and resourceful and resilient. Because in the concept of the next normal, um, what we're discovering is the state of play is chaos, and if we're not able to be resilient and flexible, a lot of times we're seeing some of our clients and companies sort of getting stuck in dead ends strategically, and also looking at executing on strategy that used to work, that worked not too long ago, but is now suddenly stopped working. And so the question is, right? How does leadership and leaders, how do leaders actually impact and affect that outcome and change? And a couple of big ideas that are kicking around, is that technology is going to help, and it's been a theme and a topic in our conversations here on this podcast, that especially AI is going to really reshape, and is already in the process of reshaping the way that we do what we do, and the way that we collaborate, and the way that we execute and deliver value to each other and to our customers in the market. And so some big questions, like how do we actually adapt and orient our teams around new technology? And today I kind of wanted to get into maybe thinking a little bit about, like, what are the structures, what are the underlying assumptions and beliefs, maybe some rule sets and some techniques or skills that leaders are going to need in order to adapt to this change. Um, One big thing, and if you've been in Dave's world, Dave Clare's world, one of his big themes is that The new world and modern leadership is really about shifting from command and control, types of management systems, to more ecosystem leadership models. And that the definition of leadership is really about really helping the people that we work with on our teams and in our communities to become the best versions of themselves while they're in our care and beyond. And versus getting the most, where the old model would be getting the highest amount of productivity from each employee. What we're talking about now in the modern world of leadership is how to actually create more value and more the ability for each individual to express themselves and to be creative and innovative and to bring their own individual insight into the process of building out your business's approach to serving your customers. And so there's a lot to that, a lot to unpack in that. And a lot comes down to how well a leader can actually be self-aware and to recognize that the old command and control, where I'm the boss and you do what I tell you to do, models just don't work anymore. Again, I'd love to hear from you guys, but virtually all of my clients are telling me that now, with sometimes up to four, in some cases 5 generations of people, 4 or 5 generations of people working together, that it's really difficult to really have cohesive communication, because styles are different, values are different, belief systems are different, right? The way that everybody engages is unique and different on the personal level, and so getting work done in a really cohesive, collaborative manner is sometimes really challenging. And so the question is, like, how do we do that, and how can leaders do that? And the mechanism, again, if you've been around circle leadership for any amount of time, you recognize that it really is a shift from that bossing management style to a coaching style. And what are the hallmarks of a great coach? And how does that differ from a leader, or from a manager, I should say? So really, it comes down to telling versus asking, right? So, and I don't mean like asking permission, right, and being put into a submissive position, but rather asking questions that lead to a person's own insight into how and why it makes sense to take the action that's being requested. So, the directive might still be, hey, we need to accomplish this goal, or this objective within this amount of time, and these are the resources we have. How do we do that? Actually would be a great question, right? Versus just this straight, directive, like, make it so, which in a lot of cases, it leaves team members, feeling, in a state of sort of uncertainty. And when they're in an uncertainty, they tend not to, we as human beings, we tend not to be performing at our highest level. So, instead of just telling somebody, what to do, the idea is to actually work with them and direct them, but also ask them, how we can work together to get that done. In that case, now, what you've also done is you've begun to bring that person into your vision and into your aspiration, as well as connecting the dots between your vision and aspiration and theirs. And really, that's the magic. That's the secret sauce. And so the question, right, is, like, how do you do that? And there are a lot of good resources out there. The best way that we found, however, is that I have found, is to really work one-on-one with leaders, and work on the process of shifting from a task orientation, or a to-do list orientation and a KPI orientation, to an objective orientation or a framework orientation. And the idea here is, right, instead of managing a task, right, and managing a person as if they are a machine, right, we shift to managing outcomes and activities within the framework, and we then enable our people to actually use the technology and the tools that they're resourced with in new and in interesting ways to move toward and to achieve those objectives. And again, the model is it's a subtle shift, but it's a super empowering shift. If you've ever worked in a team where you worked for a very rigorous command and control manager, you've experienced what it feels like to be given an order and to be expected to deliver at a specific time in a specific place in a specific way. And for some people that works perfectly, but for most people, and especially as the workforce evolves and has with technology and media and whatnot, the all the possibilities are out there. The way that people work these days is in this new world is different, and they don't tend to really thrive in that scenario. So rather, again, the idea here is then to actually empower and enable your people through that coaching interaction to begin to really and we talk a lot about values here, but really begin to apply and live out the values of your company in the work that they do. So, as they're forming into teams, as they're, efforting toward creating outcomes, programs and processes and tools and products and services, and then as they're delivering those into the marketplace to their customers and to and through your sales channels, that those people actually become advocates, and that what happens is they begin to collaborate versus just operate. So it's a massively powerful distinction, and companies who have found ways to do that are those that actually I believe are going to thrive in this new world of constant disruption. And so again, as always, right? How do you do that, right? And it really does all start from understanding and being very intentional and conscious about your cultural and leadership approach, right? So if you initially focus on what it means to be a leader, right? That we are actually here to as leaders to create more leaders, to empower other people, everyone in our charge, as they're in our charge and beyond, to be the best version of themselves and to become leaders, to actually imitate that, then versus actually just get tasks done. That's a major shift to begin with. That, again, as I've just talked about, that shows up as coaches, not bosses. It's a fundamental principle, and there's a lot of work that leaders and the leadership teams of companies really need to go through to make that shift and to practice it into reality, which is the other component of this. It's not a technique; it's actually a way of being. And as you work at it and continually fail at it, you actually become better at it. It becomes like learning kung fu, or learning how to play the piano, or becoming a world-class tennis star. It's a process of learning from skill level to skill level, and from taking the long road of mastery, right? It's the same thing here, but once you put yourself on that path, it becomes progressively easier and better. And what starts to happen is that your team will coalesce behind you, and they will start to model that behavior. And what happens then is you gain a critical mass in your organization, and amazing things happen, right? Innovation starts to happen organically and naturally because teams are, focused on outcomes versus specific KPIs, and they're being resourced rather than being seen and treated as resources. They're being seen and treated as really high value contributors to the success of your business, to the success of your customers, versus a tool that needs to be optimized. And I think it's a major shift. But how do you do that, right? So the first step in that process, and we talked about this a lot, but there's a fundamental concept of culture, right? So, and many of you, if I were in front of you right now, you probably would have an experience with the phrase, strategy, or culture eats strategy for breakfast or lunch or whatever. But the basic premise is that if you have a chaotic culture that is that it's out of control, or that is running on its own, and then you have a business strategy over here, and a well thought out business strategy, the two of them will conflict. And 9 times out of 10, the culture, because it's the people within the culture that have to execute on your business strategy. But in that scenario, your culture will actually consume and dominate and block, in many cases, the execution of your strategy. So a lot of times, leaders are, especially in mid-sized businesses, are flummoxed. They're confused. Like, why is this? Why is it that my team, can't execute on the strategy that is, so clearly, what we need to do? And it's because, your culture is not intentional, and it's not organized and oriented around executing on that business strategy. It's oriented and organized around its own priorities, and your business strategy is organized around its priorities. And where they connect and meet, things get done. That's why you get some progress. But in most cases, there's it's oppositional. It's not coordinated. And so the fundamental idea here is to think about being intentional about your culture. And as Dave would say, culture is not foosball and foosball tables, pool tables, and ping pong or massage on Friday afternoon. Those are great perks, and by all means, if that's the way that you want to operate and run your business, and really honor your team members, then by all means, it's fantastic. But that will not actually create enough of a sort of wellspring, or a basis of goodwill, that when the chips are down, right, that will actually, that culture will actually pick up your vision and charge forward, toward achievements of your business strategy. So what's the thing? You need to be intentional. So, and where are the things that you need to be intentional about? So there are 3 primary components, as a reminder, but I just want to share it's fundamental, and you really can't explore these concepts enough. But you have 3 fundamental concepts. One is your purpose, and everybody knows what Simon says, right? It's our reason why. The real big thing here is that most of us miss our reason why. We focus on superficial reasons why, or we focus on broader organizational collaborative reasons why, or we're trying to align with some other purpose that doesn't really connect with the reason why we, as leaders, are here doing what we're doing. So that's number one. And there's a process, and as I've pointed out, it's about really understanding what problems you are passionate about solving. And passionate means that you're willing to suffer for them. You're willing to actually work hard and to go through pain and suffering to achieve that outcome. So that what those problems that you're passionate about, overlaid with the people that you're passionate about helping solve those problems. And in the mix, in between, in the Venn diagram, is where your purpose lies. And it's more than money. It's more than, hey, we need to, our purpose is to make as much profit as possible. If that's your purpose, more than likely you're going to, you're going to have challenges down the road because, whenever we're focused on exclusively on the money, the numbers, when they're going in our favor, they look great. When they come back, when things regress, then they don't look so great. Then we become a number. So if we manage everything by the numbers, at some point, chances are we will become a number, and that's always painful. But anyway, that's purpose. That's the foundational piece, and the next is our values, and this is a whole topic that we could spend literally days on, and people have and written books on. But it really is critically important. Like, what is it that makes us unique? How do we, again, as others have said, people buy on your why, but they buy from you because of your values, because of who you are, the way you think, the way you behave, the way you stand up and stand out in the marketplace. And that really comes from your values. But most companies, most businesses, you think our values, they try to mimic, especially mid and small companies. They try to mimic the big corporate giants, whose really their customer is really Wall Street and not necessarily the general public. But they end up with a lot of values that are nothing more than platitudes and marketing slogans. That will look really great on a boardroom or in an office lobby or on a website, but really don't have any impact and don't really influence and direct the way that the organization thinks and behaves. And that's the fundamental piece. The values that you organize around, and I use my hands this way because they become shields and protectors of your purpose, and they become actually the support, the external support structure that will hold your vision, and within it, and this is the thing, within that structure, your business strategy. And so again, now we have an intrinsic alignment of your purpose, your vision, and your values. And I haven't talked about vision, but vision is like, okay, it is exactly what you envision the world transforming because of your business. Like, what is the transformation that you want to see in the world? And and literally you can start the phrase like, I see a world, imagine a world where, and describe the transition, describe the transformation, describe the breakthrough. And again, beyond making money, like, what is it, what impact are you and your business having in the world? And that's your vision. And then so if you align those, your purpose, your values, and your vision, that becomes the superstructure now to actually help you align your business strategy, as I said. And within that, your mission, and this is where a lot of companies miss it. They think actually vision and mission are synonymous, but they're not. Your mission now rests or nests underneath your vision, and it becomes your North Star for what you and your organization need to become in order to actually achieve that vision and to live out that purpose through those values. And on top of that, right, the values become a real functional decision-making matrix. So, they can reject, elements that would otherwise maybe have made it into your organization, people and processes and tools that maybe are not in alignment with your values. You can, through that process, your team itself can actually make those decisions, so you don't have to make every last single decision. And on top of that, that gives them that sense of ownership and belonging, and the ability to actually make decisions within the frame of their work. Again, that goes back to the coaching scenario, right? Instead of telling them exactly what to do, you're giving them a frame for how to do that, and then giving them the North Star, like, this is what we need to become, and then enabling them and resourcing them so that they can actually go do that. So that will create alignment with your culture and your strategy, so they don't actually conflict. They're actually unified and aligned, and you can move forward versus constantly battling in a very stressful way. So a lot of times, obviously, this doesn't fix every single problem, but as you begin to implement and live out this model, you'll actually find that team drama comes way down. Politics, internal politics, and competition come way down because everybody has a stake in the game, and we're all working together to create an outcome, a joint outcome that we all believe in. And it also weeds out the resources and tools and people on the team that don't fit within that cultural framework. So over time, it becomes more and more of a structure that's supportive and is actually the rocket fuel for your growth. And what happens is, as that culture becomes more real and more expressive, it becomes part of your brand. And literally, as I've talked about in a couple of these before, literally it becomes your key differentiator in the marketplace. As I mentioned before, they buy the product or service that you sell because of your why, but they buy from you specifically because of who you are, what you stand for, and that is embodied in your culture. We call this the Invincible Culture Framework, and I believe that it's actually one of the most powerful tools that in any business at any size and any growth stage can deploy to set themselves and I would say directly to set your business on a path to success. So with that, there's a lot to all unpack in a lot of that, but there are hopefully you got an idea or two today that you can actually begin to apply. Would love to hear from you on LinkedIn or on our Circle Leadership Global LinkedIn page. If you'd like, we have a newsletter that goes out every week, and it's packed full of great ideas. We explore some of these ideas even further. Last week, in fact, we talked about purpose. We talked about at a deep level, and we've talked at depth and shared ideas and approaches and tools related to how to integrate AI into your organization. In fact, Dave has written a book. It's called Humane, and you can find it on Amazon. Through our social channels and through Dave's channels, you can find how to find that book. But it's a really great read. If you're thinking about how to actually merge the two, your AI strategy, which is coming and which is going to be a critical component of your business success in the future, and your team, like how to bring those things together so you're smoothly transitioning into the new world of work. That resource is going to be super important for you. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thank you very much for your attention and for the opportunity to share these ideas with you. And until next time, happy leadership, and we look forward to being in touch. Thanks very much. Have a great day.